The European Commission is recommending that Ukraine be granted formal EU membership candidate status. This will allow Kiev to start negotiations with Brussels. Commission President Ursula von der Leyen added that Ukraine must carry out a number of political and economic reforms. The EU's recommendation will then be discussed by all of the bloc's 27 nations at a summit in Brussels next week. It follows an endorsement for fast-tracking Ukraine's candidacy by 4 European leaders visiting Kiev. Now, let's get a reaction from the Ukrainian government. Now, joining me from Kyiv is Olga Stefanishina. She's Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister for European Integration. Thanks for joining us here on DW News. Can I ask you, are you and your government satisfied with the Commission's recommendation?
Hello, greetings, Deutsche Welle, and all those who are watching. We nearly have a feeling of celebration here. Of course, it's far not the end of the story, and the decision to be taken on 21st. But for us, it's really important that the conclusion and the position announced by European Commission was approved unanimously by the members of the European Commission, and there are very clear messaging and understanding, and it's also a tribute to the reforms and the positive transformations we've been going through for the last years. And of course, clear message on granting candidate status and the European perspective for Ukraine paves the way towards mobilizing the unity for the 24th. So, of course, we are.
So having the Commission on your side is one thing, but it's no secret that beyond the Commission, some EU member states oppose granting Ukraine candidate status. There's Portugal, there's Denmark, the Netherlands, for example. So the EU summit's coming next week. Do you think you can persuade them to change their stance?
Well, first and foremost, we have to understand the general landscape of the decision which is to be taken, whereas like 90% of all member states are not only positive about making decision on granting Ukraine candidate status, they are proactively insisting on that. And I'm talking here not only about the Eastern European countries. Yesterday, 3 leaders of the old Europe, so-called, like Italy, France, and Germany, were in Kiev and made a clear message that they support immediate decision on granting Ukraine a candidate status, as well as the Irish Prime Minister and a group of the most powerful democracies over European Union. While European Commission in its decision has precisely addressed concerns of such countries as Netherlands and Denmark on the rule of law and anti-corruption steps to be done further. So if there are like any other arguments which will be revealed by these skeptical countries, they would be a bit of weak and unclear to us. So we hope for unity, and we have been constantly underlining that giving the candidate status to Ukraine is only the beginning of the way, the beginning of those conditions we should meet to become a member state.
Now, you mentioned yesterday's meeting in Kiev with Macron, Scholz and Draghi. Do you consider these states now real Ukrainian allies? Because in the past, they've all been criticized for allegedly trying to accommodate Vladimir Putin.
Well, in that sense, it is very important that the physical meeting in such format has taken place in Kiev. I'm sure that these 3 leaders are not meeting together in such format regularly by themselves, with or without President Zelensky. So it gave us a lot of understanding on many issues related to military assistance, sanctions, but also paving the way towards European integration of Ukraine. These leaders has been in place when major war crimes has been taken place. And I think if this is seen with your own eyes, if the proofs are provided to these leaders by their own services who has been working in this field, there is a decision to be taken whether you undertake this commitment ensured by you, by your position or not. I'm sure that it is, and it will be already clear by the messaging following the formal press statement.
Now, let me briefly ask about Olaf Scholz. Relations between Ukraine and Germany were strained and frosty recently. Are you now completely happy with the support you receive from the German government and Olaf Scholz?
Well, it's too early to make any estimations because a very long and frank discussion has been taking place yesterday, and it's not a secret that we've been captured in a major devastation related to the scope and the timing of the delivery of military assistance from Germany, given the fact that Germany has all the arsenal of the most needed types of military needed to Ukraine. So the arrangements and the delivery and the timing were not in line with the needs to defend Ukraine. And this discussion has been taking place yesterday. Some announcements were done, but it is still premature to assess it. We will see by actions, not by promises.
Olga Stefanishyna, the Deputy Prime Minister for European and Euro-Atlantic integration of Ukraine. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us.
Thank you.
Now, our Brussels bureau chief, Alexander von Namen, tells us why this move is so significant.
Well, it's definitely a very symbolic moment. This a decision that was expected today, that the European Commission recommended Ukraine to be granted EU candidate status. At the press conference with Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commission chief, is still underway in the building right behind me where the Commission is seated. And Ursula von der Leyen stressed already that the assessment of the merits of Ukraine's application has been concluded in a very careful way, that they came to the conclusion that Ukraine is already on its way to be a part of the European family. She said that Ukraine has a very active civil society, so this is definitely a plus, and that the election system in Ukraine is free and fair. And she even went so far as saying that Ukraine has already shown its determination to live up to European values and standards. But of course, this recommendation today is only the beginning of what can be a very long process with EU leaders to decide about Ukraine's candidate status next week when they come together here in Brussels. And of course, we need to remind our viewers that all the member states have to be on board to grant this status to Ukraine.
Alexandra, very briefly, if you can, do you expect any resistance to the membership bid from some EU states?
You can never exclude that because, of course, there are some member states who are very reluctant, saying that, listen, this is a country at war. We cannot begin accession talks with a country at war. Then they're also saying that there is still a long way for Ukraine to meet all the obligations. And some of them are saying that granting Ukraine candidate status would not be fair, considered that there are some states in Europe that are officially being called candidate states, such as Montenegro, for instance, or North Macedonia, and they have been in the waiting room for years now.
DW Brussels bureau chief Alexander von Namen there. Thank you very much.